I'm too old for this shit.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
But only if they no crying. Oh, I have ways of knowing. My work.
Even circumstances.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for yet another Christmas action movie. And this was released in the 80s in 1987. This was released a year before Die Hard. And that film is going to be, of course, this was another one directed by Richard Donner. Also a year before Scrooged. And that film was going to be for none other than 1987's buddy cop film, Lethal Weapon, released in 1987. And yes, guys, this is a Christmas movie for some good reasons, and I'll get to those in a bit. But what's the plot of this movie? Well, Martin Riggs is an LA cop with suicidal tendencies, and Roger Murtaugh is the unlucky police officer with whom Riggs is assigned. And together, they are forced to work together and uncover a huge drug smuggling operation. And as their success rate grows, so does their friendship. So yeah. So how does this make? Well, recent UCLA graduate at the time, Shane Black, wrote the screenplay in mid-1985. Black stated that his intention was to do an urban western inspired by Dirty Harry, where a violent character, or valid for what he did, what he is capable of, the things he believed in, is eventually recruited for being the one that could solve the problem. The protagonist would be everyman policemen, like guys shuffling in a town like in Los Angeles, searching for something noble as justice when they're guys in Washington worn suits seeking a paycheck, he stated. According to Shane Black, his original first draft of the script was very different and much darker than the final film. It was more than 40 pages long, and both the plot and the characters were different, and action scenes were also much bigger. The end of the script contained chasing with helicopters and a trailer truck full of cocaine exploding over Hollywood Hills with cocaine snowing over the Hollywood sign. Black hated this first draft and initially discarded it, but later picked it up again and rewrote it into the new drafts that were eventually used for filming. His agent sent the Lethal Weapon script to various studios, being rejected before Warner Brothers. Executive Mark Canton took a liking to it. Canton bought along producer Joel Silver, who loved the story and worked with Black to further develop the script. Director Richard Donner also brought in writer Jeffrey Boehm to do some uncredited rewrites on Black's script, after he found parts of it to be too dark. Boehm mostly added some more humor into the script, and later did a complete rewrite of Shane Black and Warren Murphy's projected script for the second film. He also wrote the script for the third film and an unused draft for the fourth film. So after the movie was obviously filmed, edited, marketed, and completed, the film Lethal Weapon would go on to be released into theaters on March 6, 1987. Upon its release, Lethal Weapon grossed over $120 million worldwide against a production budget of $15 million. It was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Sound. It later spawned a franchise that includes 3 sequels, soon to be 4 sequels, and a television series. And, a lot of people do call this a Christmas movie. Because technically this film is actually ironically set during Christmas. It's not about Christmas, but it's set during Christmas. So as for my reaction, this may just have to be the second best Christmas action film behind Die Hard. Yeah guys, I don't care what Bruce Willis says, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Yes, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. This Lethal Weapon, on the other hand, is also one too, because it's set during Christmas, like I've already said. Lethal Weapon is a nearly perfect structured action movie. The acting, the story, the script, the directing, even the idea of the movie all combined to make up a fascinating, thrill-paced police film. The cross-cutting at the beginning of the film was particularly effective, and in my opinion, as Martin Riggs and Roger Murtaugh are introduced, The startling difference between their separate lives provide for tons of fun to be had later in the movie. Roger starts his day off as the family man, reluctantly celebrating his 50th birthday party with his numerous children and his loving wife in the big family house, while Riggs is shown waking up naked in his trashy trailer and beginning his day with a healthy breakfast and of a cigarette and a beer. The fact that both Rogers and Riggs hate that they have to work together is especially effective in creating a touching atmosphere as they grew to be closer and closer friends. They worked so well together in this movie. It was a symbiotic relationship, and it was almost like they fed off of each other and kept each other in line and out of trouble. I even also liked the way that they showed that Riggs was deeply angered when he learned that the bad guys had taken Murtaugh's daughter. Things like this, when done right, can really get you to sit up and really get into the movie. It was definitely done right here. And Riggs was also very amusing in his anxiousness about being a cop. Like such as his quotes, "Why don't you let me go to sleep? No, come on, we gotta get up and catch bad guys." And Gary Busey delivers an excellent performance as the lead bad guy. And it's the type of the role he plays best here. Now, first of all, the acting in this movie is nothing short of excellent. Especially Mel Gibson portrays a deeply disturbed Martin Riggs, whose great finesse and his ability to create nuanced character shines through in this movie. You generally feel with him and feel the incredible weight of his wife's death on him. Furthermore, one of the things that makes Mel Gibson one of the really great actors in Hollywood is his ability to portray rage. Pure, uncontrolled rage, and he certainly lifts the movie with a few nudges acting-wise. The other lead actor, Danny Glover, is also great in his role in the aging family father Roger Murtaugh, and living buddies the part of Murtaugh, and his line, "I'm too old for this shit," has become a legend in the film world. And then you have Gary Busey, who's one of the top bad guys of any film. Not because Gary Busey was especially talented or great actor, but brings an edge to his character that makes one believe that he's the perfect nemesis for Riggs. And last but not least, we have the underused Mitch Ryan as well. And he also does a great job with the relatively few lines he is given. In terms of story and interaction between the characters, I can only say that it is close to perfection. The meeting between the two main characters is a classic moment, and they're slowly growing to like each other is also brilliantly done. The on-screen chemistry between the two actors is excellent, and I'm tempted to say that they have the best chemistry ever in film history as well. And in terms of the story, the relationship between Riggs and Murtaugh has been weighed more heavily than in the following movies, which kind of means that the villains will naturally be less refined than in the following movies, and this weighing is very accessible because the relationship between Riggs and Murtaugh is the carrying element of the movie as well. The action in this movie is excellent for an 80s movie. The template for buddy cop movies has already been created some years before Lethal Weapon and went into production, and so its combination of action, comedy, and a couple of mismatched cops didn't seem to offer anything particularly new, but what it did offer, however, was an excellent plot, a couple of well-drawn characters, and two actors whose extraordinary on-screen rapport contributed enormously to the phenomenal success that this movie justifiably achieved. And another point that impressed me upon watching Lethal Weapon was Richard Donner's directing. I believe this was probably the best job he did since 1978's Superman. He also did another masterpiece film called 1985's The Goonies before this. Yeah, I think it was before this, but whatever. He managed to always keep the pace of the flick, never let the bar go or anything, and also he did an incredible job filming the action scenes. The helicopter scene, to give the best example, is quite breathtaking. And so is a chase at the end of the movie. And talking about the end, both the ending and the initial scenes were shockingly well filmed. And I can't also find many other flaws in Lethal Weapon. Stephen Goldblatt's cinematography works very well, and so is the editing by Stuart Barrett. And if you're wondering if the musical score is good or not, there's only one thing to be said, like Eric Clapton really did it here. However, the reason this is kind of bumped, when it comes to franchise best, this is not number one best. The reason it's bumped to second best of the franchise is because these bad qualities it has. Such as, the bad qualities are the lack of attention to the actual mystery, ends up feeling a bit of an anchor, little more than an excuse to get a well-drawn buddy cop ups into the action climax, and the action climax is solid stuff. There's a showdown of a desert location with Riggs on a sniper rifle. There's also a torture scene with Riggs getting electrocuted, and there's a shootout to rescue Murtaugh's teenage daughter. Solidly made stuff. And the final confrontation kind of feels a bit wrong. Like, the bad guy's chief henchman, Mr. Joshua, orchestrated the kidnapping of the teenage Rhiannon Murtaugh, threatening Murtaugh's family while Riggs has been dealing with how to live despite the sadness of his wife's death. So the final physical confrontation is obviously between Mr. Joshua and apparently Riggs. And even though shouldn't this be Murtaugh he's having this confrontation with, since technically Rihanna's Murtaugh's daughter, and they don't really, so Joshua and Riggs don't really have a confrontation with each other. There's something kind of there about how both Joshua and Riggs were members of special forces in Vietnam, but it's not the emotional center of the final half hour of the film. That was about rescuing Murtaugh's daughter. Like, sure, Murtaugh wouldn't be able to take someone like Mr. Joshua in a fight, but the way it's all filmed feels like this is resolution of the film's entire thematic center. It's not. It just feels kind of weird. Not to say the actual fight doesn't work from a purely plot perspective. There's also danger of Mr. Joshua, while at the same time doing it with a certain stylistic flair as Riggs and Mr. Joshua fist fight on the Murtaugh lawn, with the sprinklers providing some very nice texture to the image. And now, you're wondering, why call this a Christmas movie? It's not about Christmas. Well, yeah, it's not, but the movie's set during Christmas, guys, and in Murtaugh's house you literally see a Christmas tree. And then you want to know how the movie ends? The movie ends with Riggs actually attending a family Christmas dinner at Murtaugh's house. And Riggs gives Murtaugh a Christmas present, which was the gun he used to commit suicide because he doesn't need it anymore. So in actuality, that kind of is a Christmas movie. And I think I remember when I first watched it, I remember the movie ending with Silent Night playing as the end credits music. So technically speaking, and the movie's ending is set on Christmas Eve night. So technically speaking, I can call it a Christmas movie for those reasons. But now, despite the bad qualities I've mentioned, Lethal Weapon is another great example of a Christmas-themed action film that totally works in a perfect buddy cop film. I would highly recommend buying this movie for sure. Anyways, that's it for my review of Lethal Weapon, and if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Lethal Weapon, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you love Christmas action and buddy cop films at the same time, then I would easily recommend watching this and then buy it and adding it to yourself for sure. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Lethal Weapon, I'm going to give Lethal Weapon a 9 out of 10. And there we go. That wraps up my review for Lethal Weapon. So you're wondering, what am I going to review next? Well, I'll have to think about that, but it's going to be something. And until then, guys, that's going to be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.